Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The World Without People. My name is Ayomide, and I'm so excited for you to be joining me today. I'm always excited, but I'm also sad today because this is the final episode for season one. We made it. And I'm so grateful. I'm so excited. I can't believe I did it. And I can't believe you guys are listening over there, wherever you are. And I'm so grateful. And I wanted to round up for the season, partly because I cannot stand odd numbers. I have a thing against odd numbers. So this rounding up gives me the opportunity to make it an even number, even though I kind of feel like I cheated there a little bit because some of them are like bonuses and stuff. So, it would have ended up being automatically even, but then because I caught it and things like that. Anywho's, I see all of that to just say that yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited that we made it through one season. And because of that, I decided that I would do a video episode. So if you are on any other platform but Spotify, you might not be able to see my face. And yes, the final reveal. I know most of you who do listen already know who I am, but I will try and put some of the clips on Instagram if I am not too shy at the end of doing this. But otherwise, if you're on Spotify, you get to see my face and my new beanie thing that I've been doing. Just ignore me. It's cold over here. So, anywho, being all shy and all, I am so grateful for all of you who joined me in this season. When I started this, I honestly, I went back and forth as to why I was doing this, what the purpose of this was. Was I just craving attention, or was I just trying to be creative in the same way everybody was? Because, everybody seems to be doing a podcast these days, which is great. I think, there's only so much one is going to listen to. But on the other hand, people do like to listen to the people that maybe they know or they feel like they can relate to. And if we don't create the opportunity, they might not know and they might not learn and they might not, just be able to, gain whatever knowledge it is or whatever, just have that thing that might work for them. And, people do search. I know I search for things that I can connect to. And that was my biggest fear. Why would I do a podcast when I don't even listen to podcasts? I will say I have started listening to podcasts a lot more, of course, but I've also not listened to podcasts that might be quote unquote comparable, right? Without naming names, there are some that might seem comparable, but I also knew I wasn't doing entertainment, right? I wasn't doing necessarily, lifestyle, or I wasn't giving tips. I just wanted to hear people talk. I wanted to hear people tell me their stories. I wanted people to be honest and vulnerable and be able to have us learn from one another. I've learned so much. I have to be very honest with you. And let me go back to just first of all say thank you to all my guests. I mean, you guys allowing yourselves be guinea pigs, for lack of a better term, is honestly the best thing that could have ever happened to me. I'm very grateful. I always say that, a lot of the lessons that I've used to navigate my 2023 were from some of these episodes, especially Olu's episode, the first episode. I had people, listen who wouldn't, I know they don't continue to listen to my episode, but I'm like, oh, please listen to the first one. I want feedback. And I mean, people really loved it and, and they loved the excerpt. And till today, I now listen to audiobooks. I just want you all to know that prior to 2023, yes, prior to my first episode, I had Audible and I would do a little bit and gosh, just was paying for Audible for no reason, but it's a family thing so everybody else could listen. But I was struggling with audiobooks. I just couldn't get over it. I wanted to write notes and I wasn't able to write notes because I'm a writer. I literally write everything. I have pieces of paper everywhere around me. And so, how was I going to do this? And then 2023, and I had a conversation with Olu, and now I am an audiobook reader. I'm so proud of myself. I cannot even lie to you, but I would not have done that without that episode with Olu. I think about the episode with Bolanle where, basically that was like therapy for me. And so I've learned, you don't have to be an imposter. You don't have to have this fear of success. You don't have to, you can have positive thoughts. You can get out of that negative space in your head about your career and things like that. So that's been very, very helpful for me as I've navigated another change in my career this year. The episode with Olai where he talks about how he did a random career assessment test that allowed him to figure out what he would do in college is what is a new strategy I've employed as I talk to young people who are trying to figure out what they want to do. It's just having this conversation with a friend, trying to help navigate his family members' education and career path. And I'm like, okay, let's get the personality test. Let's get the career assessment test. The thing is, it's not already something that I haven't done before, but actually seeing that somebody chose, the entirety of their career was based off of a test that they did. I'm like, this is a thing. I knew this, 20, well, whatever, years after I had started my own degree, right? Now having that as a tool that says that's true. All somebody might need is going through a book and the book telling them what it is that they're supposed to do and they can do it, and that's enough. And I'm like, that's really cool. Talking to Ayo and just going back to some of that PR stuff and having faith in being able to say, hey, I am trying this business finance thing. I've done everything. I have a freaking MBA and I can't get a job. And maybe God wants me to really go into this thing that I've been doing for years without even getting paid. And it's a reminder that, doing this podcast where I'm not getting paid yet, you can do this. And I don't know if this could be my full career because I don't know. I still like public health. Freaking got a whole PhD. I might as well use it. But I'm just saying, if I don't, and this becomes my thing, and it's like, now I know his story a little bit better and the courage that took and knowing that I also could do it. I love talking to Baba about, the filmmaking industry in Nigeria. I'm, as you could tell if you listen to that, so biased against the film industry in Nigeria. So I absolutely loved being able to be real and have that conversation with him. So I say all of this to say that it's been an amazing episode. I think about the episode with Juwon talking about, bullying in the same school that I went to that I didn't even know. I think about talking to Yesterday and talking about sex in every life cycle and talking about the fact that we need to tell our kids the names of, their private parts. Those are things I would never say in front of a child. I hardly can say it in front of adults, right? And then realizing, no, you have a nephew now and you need to let him understand his private parts so he can tell you if, anybody tries to do anything to him. I've learned so much. I really have. And I really do hope that you have as well. And so thank you again to all my guests. I think I should run down their names. We had Demilade, we had Kike, we had Loretta, Yesterday, John, Kemi, Kayade, Olai, Shola, Saze, Chioma. Oh, the episode on relationships. Yeah. I think we're going to do a lot more of that in 2024. I feel like I'm forgetting people. Shola, Lorette, Kaede, Ayo, Baba. Who am I forgetting? Norma, the episode on fibroids. And we'll talk a little bit about some of those things as well, because I have to tell you some of the behind the scenes things as well that happened. Oh, Dosh, the episode on travel, that was awesome. And then obviously my best friends, Debbie and Fumi, that joined me. That was kind of nice. Anyways, I say all of this to say thank you. Thank you so much. I also can't wait to have you guys back. So don't think it's a one-time thing. I can't wait to have you guys back. I also want to say thank you to the people that helped me behind the scenes. My sister, Damola, my sister Shion, I should be clear, because I have many sisters. Damola, who helped a lot with some of those video, creative things that we shared on Instagram, and Inten, who's been helping me, especially the last few months, with just putting everything out. I probably couldn't have done this without it's not probably, I wouldn't have done all of this without their help. And I'm really grateful. Because, one thing about me is I am very, very, I like to be a woman of my word. I'm stubborn like that. Like if I say I'm going to do something, I am going to do it. And it wasn't always easy to put things out on Tuesday. I mean, today is Sunday, for example, no, Saturday, for example, and this is supposed to be coming out on Tuesday. It means, everybody has to almost kind of just really rush to make time to do this, to make sure it's of good quality by Tuesday. But, life was lifing. Things happened. And so let me tell you a little bit about some of those things that happened, for example. Okay, so with yesterday, for example, Sex in Every Life Cycle, we had to try recording almost 4 times before we finally got it right? And we were supposed to record and something happened. I don't even know what happened, or maybe the quality was just bad. And so I had to beg Norma to push up the time that she was going to be able to record. And mind you, Norma is a double certified surgeon, or at least a doctor, right? And can you imagine the time? And then it was also just a very busy week for me. I lived in Maryland at the time. I had to run to New York for a work thing, and I was going to be staying back at my friend's that night. And, she has kids, and I'm like, everybody has to be quiet. I need to record. And mind you, this thing was coming out the next day on Tuesday, because at this point it's like, I am a woman of my word. I will do something. And so, shout out to Norma for accommodating me that day. We did it one take. It was awesome. And then I just, spent my nights editing, and we got it ready the next day. And we actually even got it out early the next day. So shout out to God too, because that was one of those episodes where we didn't really need a lot of editing. So that was awesome. The other one was when I had to have the episode with myself, basically, where my friend Fuad, asked me the questions. That was awkward for me because I had to ask people to send me questions, and I don't know, it was awkward for me. And so now I had to ask people to send me questions. And then, I'm telling my friend about what happened, because what had happened was I recorded with my cousin. I'll just say cousin. And so she's like, oh, she's a superstar. So she's like, oh, she has to listen to it first before we can release it. And I'm like, okay, fine. And we had plenty of time. And I promise you, she hasn't listened to it now. And it's okay. She's a superstar. It's fine. But I had to release something, and I was like, oh, and I didn't have any backups, because she had been my backup for so long until it was at the point where it's like, you're gonna definitely have released it by now. And I had no more backups. And so shout out to Fuad for dropping everything and being like, well, I don't think you should, because I was just going to read the questions and then answer them. And he's like, no, I don't think that would be cool. Somebody should ask you the question. So again, shout out to Fuad. But that was also it was a little bit for me, because I'm like, no, this is not supposed to be about me. I'm talking too much, I didn't want this show to be about me. So I'm kind of glad that it's also not my most listened to episode, because at least I feel justified that I wasn't over there just, craving attention. That's the thing. I really don't want to appear to be doing that. I want the focus to be the focus, to actually have a purpose for this, which is, again, hearing real life stories, learning through other people, sharing, just knowledge and helping someone, especially if there are young people who do listen to, who I hope there are young people who are listening to this, who can hopefully just not have to do or be in some of those situations where I found myself, or, our guests have found themselves. So definitely being something. Let me see. What other episode? Oh, the episode with Joa. Oh my gosh. It was so amazing. What was that episode called? Let me see. I think I have it right here somewhere on life transitions. Just, I was in Nigeria at the time when we were recording, and definitely the worst as far as actual recording, you do not know the amount of editing that had to go into that one just to make it work. Again, shout out to my sister for helping me with that. We were trying it on many different devices, whatever. But it was, it was Tuesday. We had to bring something out, and I'm still grateful that we were able to kind of make that work. Let me see what else. What other episode was really crazy? I think that was, yeah, those are some of the most interesting ones as far as like some of those episodes that were crazy and all of that. It was, internet was definitely a thing. And so if you guys have advice on how I can make that work between the whole Nigeria versus, or wherever anybody is in the world, because we did have times when there were people even in the US where it was really crazy. That was one of them. So I had done a whole full recording with someone, and we kind of had a feeling like it might be bad, but we didn't think it was not going to be salvageable, and it was totally salvageable, totally salvageable is the word. And so definitely had to not release that. But one thing I will say is, one of the things that I was very adamant about this, for this is that, I wanted people who wanted to do this. Like, I didn't want to feel like I was forcing people, begging people. And so, for example, that person reached out to, because, we had said, oh, we'll record, reached out to a couple times. They didn't come through again, or they didn't even respond at some point in time. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, that was not meant to be shared. Obviously, God didn't want me to share it. That's kind of how I kind of took this entire thing, which is why, for example, when I reached out to Demilade, and I think we talked about this on the episode, where I'm like, oh, I see on your status that you say this thing. And I literally copied the status or the message from Threads to Instagram. I'm like, oh, that was something you said. I want to interview about it. Are you down? And then it took a couple of weeks, maybe even up to a month, but then he was down. And I'm like, yeah, that's a story that needs to be told. And I feel justified because it's the most listened to episode, as you can imagine. I primarily did it because I wanted to know the behind the scenes story, but the fact that it became so helpful to people, because not only has it been the most listened to episodes, maybe not most, but a lot of people went back to listen to the episodes. You can see all this analytics behind the scenes, and I'm like, that's really cool. Like, and so kind of just feel like, again, everybody who came through on this season, or in this first season, you were meant to be here. And I'm so grateful. I can't say that enough. I feel like I owe everybody gifts, but I have to figure out how I give the people in Nigeria. And so I haven't quite figured that part out. And so, once I do, definitely we'll let you know. But I think that's the gist of this season so far. Do I have a favorite episode? I can't say so necessarily. I can't say that I did. I think that a deeply moving episode for me was the conversation with Kike for Abimifolu and Atinuke. Just hearing her story. And it's funny because Kike and I spoke for maybe an hour plus, just hearing the story. Because one of the things I did was I would meet with everybody and just kind of say, hey, this is what I want to talk to you about. Are you comfortable with it? Can we have this discussion? And so, that was all I said to her. And we ended up talking for almost over an hour, ahead of this conversation. I cried then. I still cried listening to her tell me the story again. It was a deeply personal one. And I thought, I'm so grateful that she shared it, and I hold on to that one. I hold on to the first episode. I think I don't know why. For some reason, it was a really good episode. It was, until Jamilade's episode, the most listened to episode. I liked On Legacy and Art with Kayode. It was different vibes, almost kind of like the one with Baba as well on storytelling. It was different. It was not, I don't know how to explain it, but it was just different. The fibroid surgery, I was afraid, on Take It Out with Norma, I was afraid that, again, I was talking too much. And, or at least because, we could share in the story, like I felt like I put myself in it. And I kind of felt the same way with the conversation with Ayo, with Behind the Music, where it's like, oh, because we're relating, I'm putting myself too much in it. And that's something that at least hoping to continue to avoid. And it's been great that I've gotten feedback saying, oh, you kind of let the person speak. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's the hope. but I think that's a lesson that I'm learning, trying to figure out asking the best questions, asking the questions that give the best insights and the best responses, and just letting my guests talk. So yeah, I don't know that I have a favorite episode or a favorite guest, but those are some of the ones. I really like the one on travel, I think I mentioned. I loved my conversation with Saze last week. It was just fun. A couple weeks ago. It was just fun, I think. Obviously, conversation with my best friends, I mentioned that. Conversation with Loretta, it was just interesting because her life is just, we could be similar. It seems fairly similar. My conversation with Choma, just in relationships, I think for me, that's a topic that I want to talk about a lot more. I just can't find a way to maybe not also kind of insert myself. So trying to see how we do that a little bit more. But those are some things I think people don't talk about a lot. And I think I want to explore all the different kinds of relationships and kind of go into that. So yeah, that's really what it's been for those episodes for the season. What am I looking for in 2024? Well, I'll be very honest with you. I don't even have a single guest. Well, okay, I take that back. I have one guest lined up for 2024. I'm not sure how to do this. I don't know how people do this. Like, how do you... Because I want to interview all my friends, basically. That's basically all I've gotten to. But that's not going to be enough, right? I feel like I also need to interview people that I haven't met. So now it's that awkward phase of trying to do the cold calling and reaching out to people that you don't really know. So trying to figure out how I do that. And then I also have like people that I know that are like stars. I don't want to name names, but like it's like, can I just call on them? And you know how people are. People get big and then they don't respond to you. I'm just gonna put it out there, like they just don't respond. I'm like, I knew you before you became this person, but it's okay. I think just trusting God. Again, I'm kind of very particular that the conversations that I have be conversations that are worthwhile, be conversations that are kind of ordained by God, for lack of a better term. So just thinking through, I'm going to spend the season's break. Oh, wait, did I mention we're having a season's break, right? So the season is over and we're going to resume at the end of January. So kind of like the same timeline in which we started in 2023. So, just in case I forget to say, it's Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I cannot wait to see you in 2024. But so taking that break, we'll use that opportunity to kind of just share a lot about some of the other episodes and ask you to please listen, share, of course. If you haven't, used that opportunity to catch up on some of the episodes, but give me time to also find my guests. So, hey, using this to say, if you do want to be a guest, please let me know. Don't be shy. There's always something. And I saw it somewhere. It says, it's not about the story. It's not really about who you are or, that this thing happened to you or anything like that. What it needs to be about is really just that there's something relatable. There's something anybody, maybe not everybody, but most people can learn from the story. And so if you sit down and you take stock of your life, a big example for me is really just around my education, right? Getting a PhD was one of the most difficult things in my life. But I can sit down now, especially with hindsight, right? And tell people how not to go through what I went through. I can navigate the journey with someone who's going through something to better help them, come out of it on the other side a lot better. That's the point of the story. If I tell the story, it doesn't matter how many times I tell the story. The point of the story is that someone, hopefully, but especially people who are maybe considering a PhD, who are doing a PhD, who want to, well, I guess those will be the two, or who can maybe use that story to learn even something about resilience. It doesn't have to, whether it's that you're just, you're working or you're trying to get an education or whatever it is, just having that, sharing that story, the theme there will be resilience, right? So that's the point, that it doesn't matter what your story is. What matters most is that your story is something that less about you, is more about people being able to learn something from it. And we all have that. And I think, sometimes we're shy. I'm shy, if you can't tell. But I think sometimes we hide who we are. But as you can tell with a lot of these stories, people are complicated, people are messy, people don't always have it all together, but somehow, we get it together, and in our stories we can find hope. I mean, find your hope in Jesus, but like, we can find encouragement. Maybe that's a better word to say. We can find, hopefully, just having someone be able to say, okay, if she went through that, then I can go through that. If that's what happened to her, then it's going to be okay. And that's enough for me. That's enough for me as far as the purpose of what this is about. That's the conversation. That's still where the focus of the conversation is going to be in 2024. I have some thematic topics that I want to talk about, but I don't know how it's going to shape out. I have no clue. And yet I'm still looking forward to it. It's going to be amazing. I know it. I don't know. I feel it. And it's going to be fun. And so, yeah, that's season 1, guys. Like I said, partly because I wanted even numbers, but I also wanted the opportunity to, say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I wanted to use this opportunity to say thank you to all the super fans, everybody who's listened to every episode. Thank you to everyone who's listened to some of the episodes. Thank you to everyone who's listened halfway through an episode. I am extremely, extremely grateful. I can't thank you enough. Just thank you, really. You didn't have to, but you saw it somewhere and you listened. And thank you to everybody who gave your feedback. Thank you to everyone who answered a poll question. Thank you to everyone who's followed on not on Instagram, on Spotify or anywhere you listen. Thank you for anyone who's rated. Thank you. I appreciate you. I am looking forward to 2024. I hope it's bigger. I hope it's better. I know that somehow everything works out for good. And so looking forward to that. And I think that's it. I can leave you to enjoy the rest of your year. If you haven't yet, follow, share, join us on Instagram, where we'll be doing a little bit to continue to engage you while we're away for the season. And we will be back January 23rd, 2024. Before I go, I do want to say, please don't go into 2024 without having some goals and some plans for the year. I think if nothing else, go back to episode 1. Listen to that episode with Olu. I think it gives a lot of insights into things that you can do to help you set your 2024 all right. And so I think I'll leave you with that. Go back to episode 1. Use that to set your goals and your objectives for 2024. And I pray and I trust that your 2024 will be just as blessed. See you back then. My name is Ayomide, and have a very good rest of your 2023. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me in today's episode. Just like you would share with friends about a great book you read, don't forget to share this if you enjoyed it. Connect with us on IG and Twitter at TWWPcast, and get details on the website at worldwithoutpeople.org. And hey, remember to make loving others the story of your life. Until next time, this is The World Without People.